Hello, as promised, I am going to do a follow-up to my No Project Left Behind, No Pan Left Behind challenge product, where I am going to, that's a lot, where I am going to talk about what has transpired in the last 2 months. So for background, I started it December 1st of last year, so it's been just a couple months, and I tracked it to February 13th, which is just a couple days ago. Obviously, I'm going to continue this until I go through the entirety of my collection, but I'm estimating based on what I've seen so far that we might be looking at possibly over a year. So it's going to be a journey. So the way I've broken up my collection is I have one drawer for my larger palettes, one drawer for my singles, one bookshelf in my bathroom for some larger collections that I want to keep together, but they don't fit in my drawers, and then two in my drawers for mostly my indie brands. It's mostly co-located, barring the bookshelf in my bathroom, but I figured the easiest way to go through it to make sure I keep a variety, which is really important to me, to keep a variety of products. And also, I have like blindness when it comes to finding my makeup sponge. It's kind of weird. Like it'd be sitting right in front of me and I won't see it. But I wanted to keep a variety of products as well as different brands. So I got different finishes, textures, moments, right? Like ABH is very neutral, Nomad's very bright, Odin's Eye is another brand, indie brand, but I don't want to sit there and like, as much as I love them, I would not want to do that brand straight for like a month and use all their shadows. So what I'm doing is I'm pulling like one or two palettes from each drawer and then cycling through them. That way I can have a neutral palette, a handful of singles, stuff like that. And then immediately went through all my singles because I don't love singles. And that's kind of what I've learned about myself. So to give you some background, here is the paper. That first section is all my singles organized by brand. Obviously, none of them are true singles. I do keep them organized into palettes. And that took me more than a month to go through. Because the companion palettes, not the quads, like an easy one and done looks, those were easy. Just do my look for a day, use a quad, and call it good. It was my companion palettes that I'm only going to reach for a shade or two in each one. Those were the ones that were tough to get through. And in the interim, I was able to work my way through a couple of other palettes. So one of the things that I'm thinking about in particular is this little corner of Urban Decay, because I traveled and just took that with me. I was able to work on the Juvia's Place ones, and then also Singe. I have a whole line here for all four of the Singe palettes. And so those were my first indie brand collection to get through. Now, that being said, I did start a page for Nomad. So I've used their two most recent launches, and I'm going to get, they've launched one more that I don't have, but I'm just going to buy it once the crossword clue for this current one finishes. I'll probably buy that one. And then I've also started a third page where I have my Blend Bunny and Natasha Denona and ABH on that one, so I can keep the palettes together and remember what I've used. And obviously I'm just putting check marks based on where the pan is in relation to the palette. That seemed like the easiest way to do that. I'm not going on camera today, so I'm going to do whatever the hell I want, which definitely means finishing today. Looking at this Nomad palette and seeing that I only have two shades that I need to use, this one and this one, and I love lime green and blue. That tells me right away that's what I'm doing. One of the really cool things about this is that it's forced me to put colors together that I normally wouldn't put together. Now, this was a bad example because this comes from the same palette, but there were a lot of days that I just had two palettes and I was like, okay, I've got one shade here and one shade here. How do I make these work? So that was kind of the creative bubble that was helpful in No, here's what I'm saying. It was helpful in getting me out of the creative bubble. That's what I'm trying to say. So I really liked that. It just got me to play and mix my palettes together, which is really fun. It also got me to use, I want to say I panned 4 or 5 single shades. Shades that I had been keeping around or shades that were kind of liquid and were going bad. It got me to use that part of my collection up. This is clean, so I'm just using it to blend. So I really love the fact that I actually used up some of my shades, which I don't expect going forward to happen at all, because I'm just on larger palettes, so I'll be using them up for a while, but that was pretty cool. Then I kind of have to figure out what I'm doing with my lid. I don't even know if I'm going to use this palette, as beautiful it is. I don't know if there's something that would complement what I'm wearing. No, they're all really, really, really intensely purple. So this is kind of my process as I go through. I look in the palette for the shades that I have or don't have and want, and then I kind of bring them through. And this is kind of a struggle because I've already decided on the look that I want, so I can't just pull from a palette fresh. But it will happen. Like, if I can't find something in the Primal palette, am I trying? And yes, I can. It's going to be gorgeous. We are going to do another lime green moment, but we're going to go a little bit deeper. It's going to be fun. So you got to see like a little bit of my decision-making process there, where it's just about trying and failing, but trying not to use the same shade in a palette twice. I know some people do, where they might, repeat shades to make sure they can get a different one that they really want, but I have enough shadows that I think I can do that. I think I have enough dupes or close to dupes that I don't need to do that. And then I also have, if I think about it, I can always pull more palettes in my collection out. So like I was saying, right now I have my Blend Bunny outs. I have 3 Blend Bunny outs. I have an Adept Cosmetics, 1 Nomad out, 1 Natasha Denona, and 1 Anastasia Beverly Hills, and that is a good blend because I have finished, like I said, I finished all my 9 pans and smaller have been completed in this since again a little over 2 months, 10 weeks. I'm actually going to use a shimmer boomerang because I'm going to bring in more of the inky blue. I'm actually going to use Poisonous because I don't want to use the actual shade called Ink, because the actual shade called Ink is way too blue. It's actually purple based. It's crazy. It looks exactly like Ink. She's dead on when she named it. It also, like, the whole process has encouraged me to be a little bit more creative as well, which is kind of fun. My daily eyeshadow looks, I tend to focus on, I want to say 4 or 5 shades, but I've been getting really into more complicated looks because of this no pan low to high challenge. So I'm actually doing 5 or 6. I'm probably averaging a little bit higher than I realized. It's also kept me from going for like easy highlighting shades. So I'm not always reaching for my cheek highlighter and putting it in my inner corner. This is a matte, but it is an intense matte. It almost looks like a shimmer. It's so bright. But I like that. I like a very bright inner corner because of just the shape of my nose. And then I do need a lighter shimmer, but I don't know what I'm going to do it with. In my inner corner, so I guess guess we'll just go with kind of vanilla. We'll go almost matte just to blend that out so it doesn't look quite harsh. It's still a pretty look, even though I need to soften it a little bit more. And like, there's not a world in which I would have thought to, you know, reach for this like really old palette, you know, while I'm using Blend Bunny. You know, I would never have thought to put those palettes together. So that's, oops, wrong sponge. So that's been a cooler feature of it. Clean brush, back to blending right around my crease here. I tend not to do a really sharp crease because it's just gonna smudge throughout the day because I have hooded eyes and oily lids, but I don't want it to start off ugly. There's no rule for that. It doesn't, you don't ever need to start ugly. And just making sure that this is blended out because I do have a dark blue going into a lime green. I could have used a little bit more blue, but I don't want it to take over because I am going to do a blue in the waterline. So I guess that's my update. It did take me long to update as it actually is taking me to do my makeup. So I'll probably give you a little bit of a pause and then you can see the finished product. How about that? There, I am back. Base, lips, and liner are done. So I'm just going to do my mascara so you can see the finishing touches. I did go back and count how many palettes and or singles that I actually went through, and the number was 36. So that is probably averaging about 90 days, which makes sense. Or over 90 shadows, that makes sense because I was doing the product. I've done about 90 days. So I am right on track for where I would want to be. Although with over 100 palettes, I do think that this is going to take me till December and or even farther out, more than a year. I also did recently do a declutter, so I got rid of a couple palettes that I won't be going through because they bring me no joy. And it was a very, very reasonable declutter, in case you guys are wondering. But that is how my project has been going. I think when I get more sheets filled and I can actually show you what I've gone through, it'll be more exciting of an update. In fact, maybe I'll do that for next time. I'll actually show you what the palettes that I've gone through look like, especially in like relation to the ones that I still have to get through. I just have it now because that number is so small. It'll be more exciting toward like the halfway point or after more than a couple months. But thank you for listening, and remember that beauty is on the inside.